What's up? What's up? What's up? Happy Tuesday. Welcome to a new mini episode of Unspoken Truth. I'm your host, Denise. What's up, man? How y'all doing? Rich Rising. Happy Tuesday. Good morning. All of that good stuff. Okay. So we back with a new topic, a new conversation. I really feel like I need today's conversation. Maybe I can get some different perspectives or insight about today's subject, okay? So, you see, I got my notebook, so I'm ready, okay? So, today's topic is Family Feud. I'm not sure who all could relate, but we're going to dive on into it anyway, okay? When I do episodes like this, I like to give a definition so we can stay on task, if you will, stay on subject, if you will. That keeps me from wandering off and discussing other stuff. Okay, so Family Feud. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, happy Tuesday, Rich Rising. Welcome, welcome. If this is your first time, welcome. Thanks for taking the time out to come hang with me for about a half hour. If you've been here before, welcome back. Today's topic is Family Feud. So I'm going to start off by giving a definition first, okay? So, and this is per Google. Don't mean that it's accurate, just giving us a base, okay? So, Family Feud, long standing, bitter conflict, quarrel or rivalry between family members or different families, often rooted in deep seated issues like inheritance, past wrongs, or different values, leading to prolonged anger, hostility, and sometimes violence or broken relationships. I know that was a lot, but just let's break it down, because sometimes people need stuff to be broke down so they have better understanding. Okay, family, because we're gonna break the two words down so that it all makes sense and that you got some understanding and understanding on how this either applies to your life or it don't. Okay, your job is to take what resonates, dispose of the rest. All right, so okay, family. Family is the people that you was born into, not the people that you've created a family with, but the people you were birthed to. Okay, that's that's including aunties, uncles, parents, cousins, that type of thing. Okay, that is one thing that majority of us know for a fact that we don't have control over. Okay, we we did not get a chance to pick. I think if we did, a lot of us probably would not have picked some of the people that has been told to be our family. Because I think it's a big difference between accepting people for something and not accepting people for something. Okay, titles, and I'll get to that too. Um, I've done this talk before. You have to define the word separately to give a total context. Yes, absolutely, and that's what we're doing. So we're talking about the family part first. We didn't get a chance to pick that, so we pretty much kind of stuck with that, if you will, to a certain extent. All right, feud. We know that consists of bickering, conflict, unable to reach some type of agreement. Sometimes you gotta agree to disagree. Okay. Um, Unfortunately, this particular topic I feel like drastically affects our culture in particular. Okay. The reason I say that and feel like that is because I watch other cultures, despite indifferences, despite conflict, despite feelings, despite different perspectives and beliefs. I've watched other cultures come together for the collective. Okay, I'm big on that because the, that's how I was raised. Family, family first. Okay, I'm not saying that that means tolerate a bunch of BS from people. I'm not saying that. I'm just simply saying, like, this is how I was raised, family first. You take care of what's going on in the household so that they don't spill out onto the street, if that makes any sense. Okay. Um, Oftentimes it do. It spills out to the rest of the family. It spills out to people who ain't a part of the family. It spills out to the streets. That's what I mean. Um, I used to be angry about that. You know, what the hell you discussing what's going on in my house? But I also realized that that's rooted in generations before me, where what goes on in this house stay in this house. Not in agreement with that, but I can see how I've somehow picked that mindset up. Okay, from hearing it, from being told it, from being shown it. Okay. Um, I'm a person that likes to be very transparent and have ownership and accountability for different scenarios and situations that have played out within my own household. Okay. But sometimes choosing to not be the bigger person. Sometimes choosing, hey, I've reached my limit. And I believe that everybody has a limit when it comes to conflict. I also believe that I struggle with conflict as a whole. And I think that's because I'm just now learning how to speak my mind without it becoming physical. Okay. Um, I own it. In my past, that wasn't the case. I would lash out. I would become physical. Things would escalate very fast. And I've watched that take place within my family, outside of my family. But today we just talking about the feuding that goes on within families. Okay. It it's hurtful at times when you realize that somebody that you respect, somebody that you love, somebody that you care about, don't respect you. And I use the word respect lightly because I think a lot of people believe that it's just supposed to be given to you because your name is such and such, or because you was birthed to so and so. And I'm just here to say, no, that's simply not the case. Respect has to be earned before it's given. And this is just my opinion. You can not agree, disagree, or agree. It doesn't matter. This is based off of my experiences, not nobody else's. I don't feel like that's just something that we just walk around handing out to people as a token. I feel like it a person show you that they expect respect or demand respect. And I don't really like to use the word demand because then that comes across as you owe that to them. No. Um, some people will never get respect because they don't know how to give it. So then you find yourself being in conflict with that. It's like, well, I believe that I'm supposed to get this. And then let's be clear, I believe that respect is based off of people's actions, behaviors, characters, integrity. I don't think it's based off of nothing else. This is just my opinion. So, for example, if you gonna be walking around here being disrespectful, um, not being able to compromise, not thinking of others besides yourself, then that is definitely going to turn into some type of feud or conflict at some point, whether it be right then and there or whether it be later on down the line. But what tends to happen in our culture is we allow things to build up and build up and build up. And I'm always going to speak about myself first. I'm never going to speak out of turn about nobody else. We tend to allow stuff to fester, to boil, to build, to turn into something bigger than what it should have been if stuff was addressed right away. A lot of times, us as parents, I'm just talking from a parent's perspective, a lot of times we be like, no, because that's my child. No, I shouldn't take it like that because they didn't mean it like that. No, when certain things are said, it came from a place of either not being heard, lack of courage to just say how you feel, or just simply feeling like don't nobody care. Okay. And I know that because that's what I've been dealing with for many years. It's not just happened. This ain't nothing new as far as I'm concerned, experience wise. What I've done to try to um, release myself from the back and forth, the feeling inadequate, and angered by some of the things that's being said. I understand what you issue out, you ought to be able to take. I get that. I also feel like sometimes things escalate to a point where you no longer see the person that you talking to as the person that they are to you, if that makes any sense. And I'm again speaking for myself. I have gotten so angry to the point where yes, I know who I'm talking to, but as the conflict is happening, it's somebody else's face. It's not their face. It's somebody else's face. Somebody that I got some intertwined toxic anger issues with. Okay, is how it has played out with me. Respect can't be earned or given. It has to be demanded and carried. That's just my posture, though. But see, that's coming from a man's perspective. And I think that's great for us to take a look at the difference between the two. Because some people will say, no, it ain't no difference. Yes, it is. Because we are wired differently, and the way we choose to carry ourselves, like you speak of posture, is different. It's not the same. And I listen to a lot of people talk about more of one gender over the other when this is across the board, in my opinion. Um, I think that sometimes things could be definitely taken out of context, which leads me to my next point of tone. And that is something that I've been literally working my best on is tone and delivery because I realized in the past my tone wasn't right. And some people will say, well, shit, what difference do it make? It makes a difference with respect to people that you care about. For example, your kids or your parents or whatever. But what I've also learned and discovered is yes, it's your tone and it's your delivery, but I also feel like you would treat people differently if you removed titles. What do I mean by that? A lot of times you refuse to deal with certain scenarios because of the title of the person that you're having the conflict with. Let me explain. For example, with respect to your parents, some people will say, well, shoot, that's your mother or that's your father, so you can't say that. But when you're an adult, I feel like there is no limit on you being able to express yourself. Now, how somebody receives it is a different story, but that's not for you to worry about. Your job is to make sure that you getting whatever you need to get off of your chest to whoever it needs to be issued to. Also think that's an issue that sometimes leads to conflict and feuding within the family. Okay, um, because you'll say, well, um, because they so and so to me, I have to watch what I say, or I have to walk on pins and needles or eggshells in order for me to be comfortable. Those type of scenarios are toxic and very unhealthy, regardless to the title. That's why I said if you remove the title, If you stop focusing on who the person is supposed to be to you, you will find yourself being, you will find it easier to be able to address certain situations, whether it's lack of respect, um, negativity, those type of things when you remove the title. I'm only saying that because I've had to rewire a few things within my own mind to help me be able to transition. Because I don't want to say adjust, transition, because that's what it is. In my case, my kids are older. So who I once was to them as their mother when they were younger is not the same position that they need me to play in their life today as adults. And some people will say, well, what you mean? They gonna always be your babies. This is true. But if you allow that to play too far in your mind in the front, instead of finding a place for it in the back, you will start to believe that you need to still do all the things you used to do for your kids when you don't have to. Once you've reached a certain level, or once they've reached a certain level of maturity and entering adulthood, there is nothing written that say that you must continue to deal, continue to accept, continue to tolerate from either end. Um, I left home at a young age, so when as I'm discussing this, I'm thinking about what led me to leave home so early, not being able to communicate, and I think this is the biggest factor when it comes to family feuds: lack of communication. Somebody got to feel like they out talking or over talking or out doing somebody, and this leads to voices elevating, and it's turning to a back and forth, a tit for tat, however you want to say it or look at it, but it does not help the well being of the family structure as a whole. It absolutely starts to chip away at it, it starts to break it down. It starts to not even resemble what a family structure is supposed to look like. Okay? Right, they're not your babies anymore. They are now adults, even though they still your child, yet not a baby. Yes, but I also realize that I'm just a mom, but I'm still a woman still. So see, it also comes with you separating. This is why I said titles. When you start realizing that to remove titles, I'm just a woman still, even though I'm their mother. I'm just a woman, meaning there is nothing perfect about me. Meaning there is not a day that I won't possibly make a mistake or do something wrong or forget something. I'm still human. So that's what I was trying to get at by saying removing the titles so that you can have clarity, a clear mind on what to say, how to say it, delivery, tone, those type of things. You'll start to work on those things and you'll start to transition and adjust, because I'm a firm believer that life is full of experiences that cause you to have to pivot and adjust. You may not agree with me, but I stand 10 toes on that. Why? Because there is going to be certain circumstances. Really, in the end, with this life, the only thing you have control over is your response. And I have failed multiple times at this, allowing my emotions to get the best of me to where my response turned into something that it shouldn't. Because I just couldn't. I just couldn't let it go without me being able to say something back, get the last word or what. I mean, and that is something that I've always struggled with. I've always been like that. I think it's says something about you as a parent when you realize that one of your kids are exactly like you. Now you literally raising yourself. You literally battling and feuding with yourself. It's a harsh reality and a very hard pill to swallow. But I also realize, did you fail or find another way to learn that lesson? When I say failed, I mean with my response. That's what I mean. I'm still a work in progress, so I'm not about to sit here and say like, oh yeah, I've been learned that. No, I'm still learning that right now, today, at this exact moment. So I'm not sitting here preaching, hey, I got it all figured out and this and this and that. No, because I am still having issues in certain areas. What the beauty is about it is recognition, awareness, accountability, ownership to say, hey, this is where I see where I fucked up. Okay? Because we grown. So I can say that with a straight face. I can see where I screwed up. I can also see where I could have done something different. But again, the issue with that is harping on what then already happened. It already happened. I can't go back and take what I said back. I can't put it back down my throat. I can't. And neither can the other party. And what happens is, and I should even be more cautious about this. But what happens is sometimes you say stuff that you wish you hadn't. And then the universe make you have to regurgitate that. It makes you have to throw it up so you can see it live and direct in person again. Hey, this is what you said. I know that you felt like this and that at the time, but this is what you said. Do you realize that your words gotta they have meaning, but they also have a place in the universe where you start calling stuff to happen. That wouldn't happen if you wouldn't have said certain things. And I know this firsthand by saying certain things to one of my cousins who passed away and then having to regurgitate what I said and live through that moment all over again after her passing. So if don't nobody else know, I know how powerful words can be, how much damage they can do, and how anger can sometimes take you off the cliff. I know what you mean. I'm just getting you to intensify the dialogue. Okay, thank you, cuz. We all do and say shit, but it's never too late to get it right. No, absolutely it's not. It's not. But the problem is most times is pride and ego gets in the way. And it doesn't allow the space or the environment that needs to be created to exist. And how do I know that? Because I mean, heck, my kids been talking to a lot of people about how they feel and what they think about me and the household and different situations that then took place. And again, I started this conversation off with saying that used to tick me off. But it only used to tick me off because I was like, I thought we was better than that. I never thought that it was my tone or them feeling like um, I was going to be more angry about what was being said to me than I was going to be listening to what was being said to me, was the reason why that was occurring. Not because I wasn't a good mom, not because they just didn't care to talk to me. No, they was very nervous about having certain conversations with me due to whether or not I was going to be on 10, a million, whatever, from the get-go. And I know that for sure because it's been told to me by all of my kids. So this is not me just thinking this. This is me being told this. Okay. So now you also have to be willing to create a space where your kids can be vocal about their feelings and the choices that you made and how they've affected them or made them feel. And I know that because in the past I didn't know how to create that space. Hell, I hadn't even created that space for myself. So I knew that it was going to be work that needed to be done in order for that space to be created for me first to start to realize that my nervous system is out of whack. Okay. From my own traumas. trials and tribulations. Not necessarily nothing to do with my kids. But here's the thing about raising kids: when you need to be working on yourself before that even becomes a part of your life. And I say that very loosely because I love my kids down. Okay. But it made life more difficult because I didn't take the leap. I didn't do the work. It wasn't an urgency. It wasn't a priority for me before I became a mother. That I needed to address some things. That I needed to have accountability for some things. I needed to heal from some things. I needed to grow. Um, and I knew those things, but it was like, well, shoot. Um, Sometimes you just don't know where to start. I think that I was there for many years. I just didn't know where to start. I knew that the work needed to be done. You too, Jay. You have a wonderful day too. Thanks for stopping through. Um, I knew the work needed to be done. I just didn't know how to go about it. Um, it wasn't until for me I finally hit rock bottom for myself. Forget what other people think rock bottom look like or feel like to them. It was when I finally reached a breaking point where it was like, okay, it, you all the way down here. It says nowhere else to go but up. And sometimes you have to crash and burn, if you will. That's just a figure of speech. I don't mean literally, but sometimes you just got to crash and hit rock bottom before you realize what's important, what you need to do, the route you need to take, um, what's gonna be required, those type of things. We didn't know we needed fixing before having children. Well, yeah, I guess you're right, cuz. I guess you're right. Or maybe it was just we just didn't want to acknowledge it. Because I often run across a lot of people who lack accountability. It's like you keep looking for different excuses and people to blame for what's happening in your life. And it just simply don't work that way. When you're an adult, we're not talking about minors, we're not talking about adolescents, we're not talking about young kids. We talking about adults. When you're an adult, it's no longer your parents' fault. It's no longer the broad that hurt you's fault. It's no longer other people's fault. No, it's your fault for how things turn out based off of your choices, your mindset, the things that you say to yourself, whether or not you pouring into yourself or not, whether you having people remove more than they putting in. All of those factors matter. But I can almost guarantee that at 21, at 22, at 24, I still hadn't figured that out. Parent or not, I still had not figured that out. And there is quite a bit of people in this world who was those ages before and they just hadn't figured it out yet. And I know that to be a fact. Um, this is not about who's right or who's wrong when we talking about family feuds. We talking about how the feuding even got to where what it is. And I think that it is absolutely rooted in individual issues and traumas, as well as issues with each other within the collective. Okay, that either got ignored, got dismissed, didn't get acknowledged, whatever it was the reason. Some people believe that time passing is an apology or a reason to move on from a situation. And I'm just simply here to tell you that that's not the truth. If a conversation does not take place about whatever issue, feud, conflict, argument took place, then it's still there. And a lot of us in our culture, for sure, we hold on to a lot of stuff. We don't know how to let stuff go because we believe that forgiveness is for the other party and we don't realize that it's for us. So essentially, we not even getting what we know is due to us saying, no, I ain't gonna forgive for what? They ain't sorry or apologetic for what they said to me or did to me. So I don't, why do I? But see, forgiveness is a part of maturity. You'll find that a lot of people who lack that part that allows them to be vulnerable and have forgiveness for people is due to immaturity. I'm just not mature enough. And I'm not saying that makes you less of a person or makes you less of an adult. Everybody has certain levels to their life, whatever level you on. Nobody is here to say, hey, you should be here instead of there. No. I think enough of us do that on our own to ourselves, telling ourselves, nope, I should have had known this by now because I'm such and such age. No. Stop telling yourself that. Because what you're doing is psychologically sabotaging your mental, is what you're doing. By telling yourself, hey, I should have already been here by now. I should have already accomplished this by now. I should have already did that by now. No. Because sometimes it takes life and experience and living for you to actually get what you need to get. And once I realized that and it clicked, it freed me from a lot of pressure. It freed me from a lot of guilt and shame and a lot of different emotions. Because again, I will continue to say your emotions are temporary. They're not permanent. They are supposed to be used to help you guide yourself through whatever scenario, situation, or circumstance that you're facing. Not to be the sole reason for your decision making. This is how a lot of us end up making the wrong decisions because they rooted and based in your feelings. I'm not saying ignore, dismiss, or not acknowledge your feelings. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is don't allow your feelings and your emotions to be the anchor to you making a decision that could be permanent based off of something that's temporary. Um, it's hard. It's hard sometimes dealing with family because everybody has their own way of thinking, their own way of doing things, um, and just their own personal stuff going on. That sometimes that we just, you know, maybe that person just ain't in the mood today. And instead of them saying, hey, look, I'm really not in the mood today, and being vocal about that. So then I don't even try to use this opportunity at us crossing paths to poke at you or have a little fun. At least that's what I'm having. And today you just not even in the mood for that. Now that little fun that I was trying to have that turned into us arguing and saying hurtful stuff to each other. And still not realizing in the end, we all we got. People on the outside of the family absolutely is not going to do some of the things that people inside of the family is willing to do for the sake of family. And sometimes that could be a good thing and sometimes it could be a bad one. It just depends on how you look at it. But yeah, there is a lot of uncomfortable conversations that need to be had. But with respect to your kids being adults, you have to almost pause, if you will, to wait till they develop just a little bit more, mature just a little bit more to have those conversations that need to be had. And that's frustrating sometimes because you like, well, you got all of this mouth. You talking about you grown and you and this and that. You ought to be ready to have a hard, transparent conversation. But this is where parenting come into place versus just one adult to another. Sometimes our kids are just not ready. They just not at that level yet. And you have to be more mature and be the bigger person while time um, continues until they reach that season or that level of maturity and adulthood where those conversations can happen. But under no circumstances would I suggest or advise you pressing to have those conversations before then, because it's not gonna work. See, a lot of us be trying to orchestrate stuff that can only be designed by the universe when the time is appropriate. And I've had to learn that the hard way by trying to orchestrate certain things because I'm ready to deal with it. And not even considering whether or not the other party is. Hell, they may not even care. I still care. They may not care at all. And so these are things that you have to take into consideration when you talking about or dealing with family feuds or feuding with anybody for that matter. Some people just don't have the capacity. Some people just don't care. Some people is comfortable with the way things went and they're not interested in fixing it or discussing it. They done moved on from it, you still stuck on it. And I would say that I'm that person who still be stuck on stuff for a long time because for me, it be the principle. It be the principle about whatever the hell is going on. It be the principle for me. That makes me be like, well, I guess I'm the only one out this scenario that's care about the principle. But, different strokes for different folks. I would like for everybody to consider, with respect to today's topic, to just consider that everybody has got something that they trying to deal with, get through, have victory over, or whatever. Be mindful. But don't let nobody disrespect you, play in your face, um, override your boundaries and your standards that you set, because those are put in place to keep you safe, to protect you from the harm of others, family or not. Stand on what you believe in. When you create certain standards, don't shy from them. And this is something that I've literally still had to learn. When you say something, put your foot down. Stand on it. Don't go back on your word and say, oh well, I feel like that was enough time, so they should have had learned. No, stand on it. Because the more you stand on it, the more respect you will get from the person who once lacked it. And I believe that wholeheartedly. Person is not never gonna respect you when they don't see you stand 10 toes on what you said. There's no reason for them to respect. You not having respect for you. So I hope that whoever that needed today's conversation, including myself, got what they needed. Because I absolutely feel so much better having this conversation today. Because yesterday was a little rough. There's been plenty of days like that. But I continue to push through. I continue to see where there is still room to grow, and address whatever needs to be addressed so that I can heal and move forward, as well as be able to allow that healing and growth and maturity and wisdom to trickle down on my kids and their kids. Because that's what's more important to me than anything. How I change the trajectory of where I come from versus where I'm going and headed. I appreciate everybody that tapped in, chimed in, commented, told somebody. Y'all support do not go unnoticed, man. I appreciate y'all. Y'all the reason why I keep showing up. I show up so I can talk to my people, the ones who actually want to have a conversation. Um, I appreciate it. It's very therapeutic to me to be able to get some stuff off my chest, but have um, some honest feedback and criticism from those who keep up with me, maybe those who don't even know me, who actually can relate to the topics that I discuss on my platform. It is extremely cold outside. If you must go out, please dress warm. Um, it's in the negatives, you might as well say. Uh, I know that sounds crazy, but yes, that's extremely cold. It's a lot of schools and stuff closed today. Be careful out there. Dress warm. You don't want to find yourself with frostbite or something like that. Um, if you got to go out and get back in, man. If you're looking for shelter, there are plenty of places that's open throughout the city. Please make sure you check into those if you're in need of shelter today. We don't want to see too many people perish from lack of shelter, okay? I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I will see y'all back here on Friday. This Friday's episode will be a Tea After Dark episode. If you have not had the pleasure of tapping into one of those topics, man, you in for a treat. Who knows what we'll be talking about, but Friday's episode will be geared more towards adults. So that will not be an episode that you want to watch with your kids. Let them watch or be near them while you watch. Okay, I'm big on the different influences that I may have on certain people, younger people, middle-aged people, adults, the elders. We want to always be mindful and respectful of them. Okay. Um, yo, cold as shit. I was out there, yeah. I ain't been out there yet, but I'm about to. So I will see y'all back here Friday, 8 p.m. for a new episode of Unspoken Truth Podcast. Until then, I'm your host, Denise. I'm out of here, man.